Hello, infidels, because false God. Hopefully, you watched my Satan Protocol video all the way through, which is a massive 2 hours and 20 minutes. If you have, then you're a champ. And if you have, you would have seen that I was struggling to get through the 2 hours and 20 minutes. So if you haven't watched it, it does contain the meaning of the universe, meaning of life, why the Satan Protocol needs to be, why it's happening, why humanity has to destroy itself, because you've gone against the divine purpose, and it's all done in an atheist way because you're getting too developed for the spiritual exaggerations of religion. So you need to have a more technical sense of what's going on. So what I'm going to do is just make a few separate videos, and I think this is just to highlight abnormalities in the Satan Protocol, because I think the Satan Protocol, once you know what it is, it can be predicted, not only in the experiment, because we're mimicking quite a bit, or quite a lot of the experiment, but I think when you compare to crime, you've seen it all before. You've seen violence, you've seen sexual dysfunction, you've seen violence, domestic abuse, all that, and then you've seen this rise in suicide. So everything that in the Satan Protocol is basically Satan's always been there in the criminalized sense, but it's never been in the mass scale. And I think what you're going to see is a lot of these things in mass scale, violence, mass suicide, and all that. But one thing that might fly under the radar is what happened with Lucy Letby. She's a killer nurse from England. She's basically killed 7 children, 7 babies, and presumed to have killed 6 others. But this case, like in a media storm, you can just do the standard, she's pure evil. This is a one-off, and hopefully this never happens again. But I think Lucy Letby is going to be the start of a new wave of dysfunction in the Satan Protocol, because it doesn't make sense that she was evil. I think most evil people have a motive. For violent people or enraged theft, they need to steal something, and all that. I think Lucy Letby's profile was that she was a very caring person. She had a very loving family, very very into a Disney kind of mentalities and way of life, and I think she built herself up to be not only a good nurse, but I think what destroyed her was on that post-it note where she said, no man, no children. Because I think if you go into a profession loving children, then the one thing you would want from your life is to love your own. And I think this is where the Satan Protocol was activated, because she would have not gained a love life, because, as I said in the Satan Protocol video, the last 20 years has been a lie. We've been living in the sexual revolution that was enforced on us, and it has just been this hookup culture based relationship with the imagination that we were going to fall magically in love, have our families, have our kids, just like our grandparents. But what wasn't accounted for was that there was no family model. the nuclear family has been destroyed by feminism, um, and you've got both men and women working. And if you're put in that situation where you're working but you're not able to get what you want, you're not able to serve and be served. You serve the economy, but you can't go home and have your family life because what's been put into society is just dysfunctional and it's not going to work. And without no husband or children, I think that's what built up Lucy Letby's anxiety um, in life. And I think like she became jealous of the people in a job. She was surrounded by everything she ever wanted, but she couldn't get it herself. And I think this is where the Satan protocol overtook her and she became the angel of death. As I said in my last video, anxiety is more powerful than we think. Um, it, everybody's had a little bit. It's basically your adrenaline going on your front lobes. You do get tunnel vision, and you need to push through in life. But if you can't push through in life, if you can't use that adrenaline, it builds up and builds up, and that's when it becomes toxic. That's when you get your anxiety attacks. But one of the biggest unregistered things about anxiety attacks, that pressure on the front lobes will take any caring ability you have from the outside perspective. Um, it takes away all positive thoughts. It also destroys your body. You're going to be constantly in agony because it's pressing on your brain. And I think this is what took over Lucy Letby's mind, is that the jealousy, of seeing what she wanted but she couldn't have, became evil within her, and she started taking revenge on society because society destroyed what she wanted. And um, this is why in the court case, and anybody who's worked in criminality, you do get those people who will sit there and they don't care about the murder, about the life sentence. That's the anxiety. That's the power of the anxiety. They don't care. They won't register. They know what you're saying, but they have no positivity, or you can't take away the positivity because it's already been taken away. So they would just stand there, sit there lifeless. But like with Lucy Letby, when it was something she cared about internally, like a cat that got taken away for adoption, then she cared because she was still herself on the inside. And she's obviously built up a high affinity with the cat and with the doctor that she liked. The reason why Lucy Letby should not be just merely dismissed is that this is going to be the next wave. It's going to be emphasized in the Satan protocol, in the behavioral sink, because after the Me Too movement, you couldn't live a life of sexual revolution, so people started coming in with the fantasies of you can go back to be a serious family, but you can't. There's no serious family model. So you basically have to put the girls back in the kitchen, which isn't mentally healthy. The boys are not developed because there was no reason to develop over the past 20 years. There was no reason to take relationships seriously because there was no serious outcome. And what you've got is highly dysfunctional marriages where you're both now just trapped in an endless kind of this cage of abuse, being emotionally unresponsive, and you're just going to be overtaken by this anxiety that you're trapped in a house with nowhere to go, with no future, because nobody can push the relationships forward. Um, and this is where the anxiety on the women is going to take over. I think a lot of like anxiety cases got put on the men because the Me Too movement hit the men. You know, it was like, you're all rapists. You know, you all hate women, all that. You're all violent and out of control, and it completely attacked the men. But then women were safe. But what's happening now is that the people from the Me Too movement kind of just went into the exodus along with the gentlemen who were already in the exodus, and then it's now the exodus is now growing to a point where it's taken a toll on the women, where for the first time women are not being um, they're not being carried through life anymore. Men are not responding to women anymore. They know that we're not approaching them on the street, but it's now becoming a mass scale issue, and now women cannot pursue a romantic relationship, a sexual relationship because of the Me Too movement. They're just going to have to be sat there either on their own, which is going to cause enough dysfunction as it is, or they're going to take the only offer that's been given to them, which is that trad wife, which is very dysfunctional. It's not what traditional wives were. Traditional wives were nagging housewives. They weren't subservient. So when you've got a man who just wants to boss you around, he's going to do whatever he wants. And yeah, this is going to bring a high anxiety into the female side. And I think, yeah, infanticide is going to be one of them. But you're also going to see a repeat of what you saw with the men after the Me Too movement is now going to be pushed over to the females, and they're going to follow the dysfunction. The higher suicide rates, the higher depressions, and then obviously this infanticide case as well. So yeah, there are other things that I want to discuss, but I'll do them in small videos. So good night, and I hope the devil don't take your soul.